Live from WXOU at Oakland University, it's the GioMoShow. Now, give it up for your host, GioMoShow.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow. We are finally back right here on 88.3 FM WXOU, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Oakland University, with all the station identification features complete. I am your host, GioMoShow. The GioMoShow is your home for all Oakland sports and beyond from 88.3 FM. It feels so good to finally be back here in the studio. It's been about a couple of months since I have been in here. Some of the other responsibilities of post-graduation have been in the way of my return to the studio where it all started, but I'm so happy to be back. It has been a long time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Help out the show all the ways that you can, especially as we are now into the depths of the fall 2024 season for the Oakland University Golden Grizzlies, as well as within Week 4, heading into Week 5 of the NFL season. The GioMoShow is your place to be for all such sports. Don't forget to follow the GioMoShow on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at the GioMoShow on Instagram and GioMoSherry WXOU on Twitter. And you can use the hashtag the GioMoShow to stay involved and stay up to date with all the things from your favorite college radio station. So we missed a lot in the past couple of weeks, not only from not being here in the studio, but from not having any shows uploaded from the Lions decorated bedroom of my 12-year-old home. But otherwise, we've missed a lot when it comes to the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. So I'm not going to go over as much detail for the out-of-conference stuff. What I will focus on is the in-conference stuff. The Horizon League games are the ones I'm going to spend a lot more of the focus on, because in all of soccer, of volleyball, men's and women's soccer and volleyball, we are in the Horizon League season. So it's only right for me to focus on those. So before we begin here, I want to provide a bit of an explanation as to the social media post that I had a couple of days ago in regards to the future of this show, and I mentioned that the future of the show is uncertain. Now, I did not say that it was over, and after reading it, kind of understand why everyone thought this was more of a goodbye to the GioMoShow kind of a post, but that's not what I intended. What I meant by that is that since the schedule of a young broadcaster gets very hectic week to week, and it is tough to fill the schedule with enough paid roles in broadcasting to spend the time at a volunteer radio show, it just that balance becomes tough. So what I meant by that post is that it won't be the end of the show, but I just got to try and figure out a way to make it in a more consistent and a more regular way so that you guys don't miss out on any of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies or the Detroit Lions stuff as well. So it's not over, and I'm not gone, and I'm not done. But it's just, I'm not sure week to week if I'll have enough time to regularly do this, so I'll do my best to keep up. So with that explanation out of the way, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can head to Instagram at the GioMoShow. It's a post that I had on YouTube that you can also go and subscribe to for all the episodes of the GioMoShow here, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all your podcast platforms is where you can find the GioMoShow. So with all of that out of the way, we can finally dive into the Oakland sports, and we'll start with volleyball, as the Horizon League season has started, and it's the youngest Horizon League season that we have because the soccer teams are a lot deeper and they have a lot shorter of a non-conference season. But the volleyball team has the youngest Horizon League season so far. Also, Emily Wickman of the volleyball team was named the Oakland Female Player of the Week for her performance over Milwaukee on the defensive side, as she is the reigning defensive player of the year for the Horizon League in volleyball. So shout out to Emily Wickman for continuing the dominance on the defensive side for the black and gold. So getting to the games that they played this week, and again, I'm not going to recap all the games that I missed over the past couple of weeks. We'll stick to this week, and we'll stick to the Horizon League games. It was a double header over the weekend, and I used the word doubleheader incorrectly. It was a Friday and a Saturday match against Milwaukee, both of which were at home at the OU Credit Union Arena, and both of them went to 5. And unfortunately, both of them also ended in a Game 5 loss for the Golden Grizzlies, as Milwaukee would get out of here with 2 wins in the Horizon League season. We'll start off with Friday's game, where Oakland was the one that had the 2-game lead after 2 sets, but unfortunately it was the reverse sweep that got the best of Oakland. In the first 2 games, it was 25-17 Oakland, 25-23 Oakland. It was a lot closer, but then in extra points and extras, I believe extra points would be the proper term for volleyball. It would be 26-24, win by 2 for Milwaukee. Then 25-19 in Game 4. Milwaukee ties it up, sends it to Game 5. And in Game 5, it would be 15-10. Panthers take the match. And a similar story would happen in the second game, that one being played on Saturday, also in the OU Credit Union Arena. The first one was Inclusion Day. The second one was OU Recwell Day. But that one was Oakland bringing it to 5 sets, as opposed to Milwaukee being the one to bring it to 5 sets, as Milwaukee ended the third set with a 2-1 lead. One more would have been the winner, but Oakland would force a set 4, or rather win the set 4. Forgive me, I'm trying my best to follow through here. Oakland would win set 4 25-21 before falling in set 5 again 15-10, similar to that of the first game. So unfortunately, that leaves Oakland winless in the Horizon League season so far, an overall record of 4-10, with upcoming matches including today, today as of this recording, October 1st at 7:10 p.m. They are currently playing Cleveland State at Cleveland State, and I will go and take a look at the live score right now, and we'll keep you up to date with it throughout the show as I get to see the stats themselves. But for now, Oakland in their current match against the Vikings, they're just started the third set. Cleveland State won the first one, but Oakland won the second, and Oakland currently up 3-1 in set 3. So that's where we stand right now against the Vikings. Otherwise, Oakland would be home for another weekend matchup against a Horizon League foe, this one being Robert Morris, October 4th, that being Friday at 6 p.m., and then October 5th, Saturday at 2 p.m., they would face the Robert Morris Colonials for a Dig for a Cure cancer awareness game on Friday and a faculty and staff appreciation night for the Saturday game. So that will wrap it up for the volleyball update here on the GioMo Show. And before we continue into the women's soccer segment, I got to give a shout out to our radio station, WXOU, and our YouTube channel for the sports, WXOU Sports. You can subscribe to WXOU on Sports for all of our broadcasts and sports content. That includes live audio broadcasts of Oakland University games. That includes interviews with athletes and coaches, highlights, and more. You can also follow WXOU on all social media platforms by visiting their website, WXOU.org. You can follow us on Instagram at WXOU Radio and on Twitter at simply WXOU to keep up with your favorite, and I just know it's your favorite, college radio station. And now with that out of the way, let's get into the women's soccer segment here. And after we're done with the Golden Grizzlies, to let you guys know, we'll be talking about the Detroit Lions as well as the rest of the NFL in this about the second half of the show. So if that's what you're waiting for, then stay tuned. We'll get to it. But for now, the Golden Grizzlies women's soccer team are 500 now in Horizon League play. A 2-2 record is where they stand, and we'll get to their league standings in a moment. But for the past couple of weeks, and again, focusing on the Horizon League games, it kind of extends beyond the 1 week. But either way, September 19th was a home game against Robert Morris, where Oakland would unfortunately suffer a 1-2 loss. It would be Robert Morris that got the early lead in the 11th minute, but Oakland, just after halftime, would be able to tie it up with Isabella Bird assisting Frankie Mudd on a goal in the 47th minute. But unfortunately, the 68th minute would find Robert Morris with another goal to retake the lead and take the match 2-1 over the Golden Grizzlies. It was about even in terms of the stats. Robert Morris had a bit of an edge in shots, 13-11, but Oakland had an advantage 5-4 in shots on goal, but otherwise pretty even across the board. We then get into September 22nd, that being a Sunday, home against Youngstown State University. Oakland would get their first Horizon League win against the Youngstown State Penguins, 3-1 at the Oakland Soccer Field. This one would be a dominant performance by the Golden Grizzlies. After they're giving up one goal in the 16th minute, Oakland would rally off 3 unanswered to get to the 3-1 final score that we have. In the 21st minute, it was Frankie Mudd. In the 49th minute, it was Brooke Blockstock. And in the 87th minute, just before the end, it was L'Oreal Miller that got the final goal for the Golden Grizzlies. Oakland would outshoot Youngstown State 22-9 and shots on goal 10-6 for a dominant performance over the Penguins. And then that brings us now to their game on the road against Milwaukee, the perennial champion of the Horizon League. Milwaukee is routinely, year in and year out, the best team that the Horizon League has to offer for women's soccer. Oakland taking a loss 1-0 in Milwaukee as part of their Wisconsin trip they took last weekend, that being September 26th against Milwaukee, and then the 29th against Green Bay. But for the game against Milwaukee, Milwaukee would be the one that was doing the dominating in the statistics. 20-7, they outshot Oakland, 7-4 in shots on goal, and 12-0 in corner kicks taken for the Panthers. For Oakland, only giving up 1 goal, that being 6 saves for Julia Zangurl on the day, 4 saves on all 4 shots on goal for Milwaukee. But Oakland would turn things around as part of that Wisconsin trip. They would take the win over Green Bay 1-0. And looking into this one, in the 43rd minute, the lone goal scored in the game would be by Shannon Brown, assisted by Marina Downing, where Green Bay would be the one to dominate, or I guess dominate is more of a relative term, but 12-8, Green Bay outshot Oakland, and even 5-4 in shots on goal. Oakland had no corner kicks while Green Bay had 4, but yet Oakland was able to make those shots count, scoring the 1 goal, being enough to win against Green Bay to even out their Horizon League record at 2-2, which puts them 6th in the league as of right now. Tied with Northern Kentucky with 6 league points, and 6th place is the cutoff for the Horizon League playoffs. If you guys remember from last season, the women's soccer season was cut short as a last regular season match against Detroit Mercy would be the deciding factor as to who got that last spot in the tournament, but unfortunately Detroit Mercy knocked Oakland out. So currently Oakland sitting what would be in a playoff spot. So we'll see how they do to maintain that throughout the rest of the season. And they will try and prove to keep that spot as they go on the road against Purdue Fort Wayne. That being October 5th, this Saturday on the road in Fort Wayne. And then they will come home for Senior Day and Gold Out on October 13th on a Sunday at 1 p.m. They'll be hosting the Wright State Raiders. And then on October 17th, Breast Cancer Awareness / Pink Out will be October 17th, a Thursday at 5 p.m., hosting Northern Kentucky. And that will wrap us up here for the women's soccer. I hope I don't feel like I'm rushing here, but we got a lot of ground to cover, so bear with me here as we get through it. We'll get to the NFL in the second half here, just after all of our Oakland sports. But before we get into now the men's soccer section, I want to tell you about Jake's Takes. If you're looking for in-depth coverage of all professional sports, along with interviews with college coaches and athletes, both from Oakland and outside, then check out Jake's Takes. Hosted by Oakland men's basketball manager Jake Masucci, Jake's Takes is your place to be for all things sports. He is in the middle of his college coaches and athletes interview series that includes Oakland's own Baru Navalurua, assistant coach Bobby Naubert, and former Golden Grizzly, now Washington Husky, Chris Conway. So you could go and subscribe to Jake's Takes. Follow him on social media at Jake's Takes. That's at Jake's Takes with a dot after the first K is the handle for him on Instagram. Look for the yellow logo as you look for Jake's Takes. And now let's get into the men's soccer segment here, as they are about halfway through their Horizon League season, much like the women are And Alex Flowers is part of our initial headlines, being the Oakland Male Player of the Week for his recent performance, a shutout against IU Indy, which is formerly known as IUPUI, formerly known as Ooey Pooey, formerly known as Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis. Did you get all that? So now they're IU Indy, the Jaguars. But that being the reason for awarding Alex Flowers, the goalkeeper for the Golden Grizzlies men's soccer team, with Player of the Week. So talking about their Horizon League season so far, they started on September 14th against Cleveland State, where promoted to head coach Paul Duro got his first Horizon League win against Cleveland State at home, 2-1 over the Vikings. And looking at that game, the Vikings got the initial lead in the 15th minute, but not long after, Oakland would respond with a goal by Carson Bala, unassisted, and then before halftime in the 42nd minute, Jack Klomperens would get the lead for the Golden Grizzlies in a match where they were statistically dominated, where Cleveland State had 19 shots and 11 on target. Oakland only have 9 and 4 respectively. Oakland 10 saves, Cleveland State only 2, and Oakland had 5 saves in each half as well, splitting it even. Cleveland State had 8 corner kicks and Oakland had none, but the fouls is where it got about even. Oakland 10, Cleveland State 9, but despite all the numerical disparities, there's some thesaurus use for you, Oakland was still able to get the win here by making their 4 shots on goal count to get the 2-1 victory over the Cleveland State Vikings on September 14th. They then play an out-of-conference game at home against Loyola Chicago. They win that 2-1, and then head on the road for Northern Kentucky. This one would end in a draw, a 1-1 draw to be exact. Oakland scored the first goal in the 19th minute by Abdul Al-Rashed, a goal unassisted by Al-Rashed. But in the second half, Oakland would give up the lead as Northern Kentucky would score in the 59th minute, and that's where the score would be tied. Again, 1-1 was a draw in conference play. Just about even statistically. Oakland had less shots, but more shots on goal than the Norse. I had to make sure I look at their logo. Against the Norse, Northern Kentucky had 15 shots. Oakland had 13. But NKU 4 on goal, 7 for Oakland. If you're keeping up with all the numbers here, I apologize if it is numerical soup when it comes to going over these stats. I hope you guys can follow along here. But that then brings us to the most recent match. This one, September 28th, this past Saturday, versus IU Indy, where it would be a shutout tie for both sides, and where Alex Flowers would get his 4 saves on the day, but ultimately a game that Oakland you think would have the opportunity to win. They outshot both in shots taken and those on goal. 9-0 for corner kicks for Oakland, but just could not, unfortunately could not get any of them through. 11 of Oakland's 13 shots came in the second half as well, but none able to get through. So with all that being said, that puts Oakland men's soccer at 5th place in the Horizon League with 5 conference points. Green Bay and Purdue Fort Wayne sit above them with 6, but Northern Kentucky behind them with 3, as Oakland looks to continue their Horizon League season on the road at Milwaukee. This Saturday at 2 p.m., they will be on the road against the Panthers. They will also make a trip to DePaul in Chicago on October 8th before they return home on October 12th to host Purdue Fort Wayne. And again, Purdue Fort Wayne sitting above Oakland in the 3 spot with 6 points. And remember, Oakland has 5, so that one is sure to be a big Horizon League tournament seeding match for throughout the season. So keep an eye on that one, October 12th at 2 p.m. at the Oakland Soccer Field. And for a couple last pit stops here before we get to our NFL and Detroit Lions segment, I want to talk about Oakland University club sports because if you've seen the GioMoShow interviews, that I like to talk to my club sports every once in a while because I find their stories to be a little bit of a different flavor from those at the varsity college level. Because when it comes to the club athletes, there is no scholarships. You don't get scholarships for joining a club. That's just how college has always been. So for the amount of effort and the amount of time, blood, sweat, and tears, potential out-of-pocket money that these athletes and these teams spend to play the sport that they love, I find that to be remarkable. And I try to honor that, and I try to display that to you guys, how great the club sports are at Oakland University. I'll spotlight the football team because they started their season. I had them on most recently for my club sports interview, that one being on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel. But I wanted to highlight a little bit of their season so far. They start off 1-1 with a 35-12 win over Lansing Lightning to open up the season, where Vincent Johns Jr. would have a monster game, including 69 yards receiving and a touchdown, including 40 yards rushing and a touchdown, 2 tackles, 1 deflection, and a 107-yard pick six against Lansing Lightning, letting him be the player of the game. They would then follow that up. And that's in his debut, by the way. That's his first ever game as a Golden Grizzly club football team member. And what a monster performance he had to start things off. But Oakland, unfortunately, would not have the luck continue. As you heard right here on WXOU live from the Atlanta Track and Field Complex, Oakland would suffer a 37-15 loss against Wright State as part of their Great Lakes, I believe Great Lakes East Conference part of their season. So they now start their season 1-1. But we got a whole lot of other club sports. I don't have time to cover them here, but be sure to go on social media, check out and follow your club soccer teams, your club lacrosse teams, rugby, hockey, table tennis, flag football, all of the sports from the recreation, from University Recreation and Wellbeing, or a long way of saying the rec center. They got a whole lot of sports going on, and it means the world to these athletes to see you guys come out and support. Seeing the games is free. All you got to do is look in their social media and find out when and where the games are, and you got your ticket to experiencing club sports. So definitely keep an eye out on them, see what they're up to, let them know that you're in support of what they got going on. And one last segment, we're making a pit stop here on Instagram because I recall seeing something from Oakland Track and Field, but it has not entered my notes yet. So we will go and take a look because we got some big Horizon League news as far as the runners are concerned, where it would be a clean sweep of Horizon League cross country honors, where Genevieve Kushner-Lopez would be the female runner of the week. And Josiah Magley would be the male runner of the week. And Maya Conway would be the freshman woman runner of the week. And Bryce Nowick would be the male freshman runner of the week. That is all 4 weekly honors going to the Golden Grizzlies cross-country team. Remember, the women's team is the reigning Horizon League champions, and the men's team not far behind in 3rd place in last year's Horizon League championship meet. So all 4 honors going to the cross-country team. Congratulations to all of you on having a fantastic week of running and running forward. And we wish you luck on continuing to run forward. I'm sorry I say that in jest, obviously. My younger brother is a cross-country runner, so I understand the work that goes into it and the misery you guys endure for fun. You guys are nuts. Anyway, that's going to bring us now to the end of the Oakland Sports segment here. We're getting into halftime here, leaving the second half of the show dedicated to the NFL and the Detroit Lions, fresh off the heels of a big win on Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks, and we'll review the GioMoShow picks from last week and how this week was my best week at picking the games that happened in Week 4. We'll talk all about it here on the GioMoShow on 88.3 FM WXOU right after the break. Before we get back to the show, let me tell you about Bart's Pizza. Bart Basilico reinvented his father's pizzeria business by putting it on wheels. I'm talking a pizza food truck, baby. Bart and his wife Lauren travel all around Metro Detroit, cooking up homemade pies made fresh to order in their 4-layered pizza oven on wheels. You can find them on their website at eatbartspizza.com and Facebook and Instagram as well at Bart's Pizza. His last name is literally Basil, so you know he knows what he's doing. Make sure to grab a cannoli as well while you're there. Bart's Pizza, it's too good. Welcome back, everybody, to the GioMoShow, the GioMo Show, your home for all Oakland sports and beyond from WXOU. We just got done with all of the Oakland sports that happened throughout the past couple of weeks through my absence and through the Horizon League season of the men's and women's soccer team and the volleyball team and a little bit of the club sports and some news on cross country. So we covered all of that in the first half of the show, and if you're joining me now at 7:30 and wondering, man, I can't believe I missed that. Where can I go and find the GioMoShow so that I can go back and play the show at any time, anywhere, any place at my convenience? Man, if only Giovanni Moscieri, host of the GioMoShow, did something to help me get my GioMoShow. Well, I'm glad you asked that specific question because the GioMoShow episodes are always uploaded to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, rate, review, and subscribe. It all helps the show. That's where you can find it if you're not listening right now on 88.3 FM. But for now, you can go and find that later this week when I upload it. Until then, we are talking about the NFL, which for a lot of you guys, I understand the radio audiences here, you most likely want to hear that as well. So, we'll talk about the Detroit Lions and their Monday Night Football victory over the Seattle Seahawks. And I don't, we'll save the old news about the previous weeks where I didn't talk about them. But we'll just focus on Lions and Seahawks, and then we'll get into the GioMoShow picks from last week, where I had the best week of my NFL season of pick'ems, where each week me on the GioMoShow pick each game of the NFL season. We'll kind of change the schedule on that because with doing it on Tuesdays, it's kind of far ahead to pick the games. So what I'll do is I'll release my picks on social media, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, go and follow so you don't miss, and then we'll review them when we come back to the studio here on the GioMoShow. Sound good? We'll do it that way. So we'll begin with my thoughts on the game. But before that, one last note. I met Crackman. I don't know if you Lions fans are familiar with the Crackman. A wonderful, wonderful gentleman. Hall of Famer in 2001 for being the Detroit Lions fan. Ron Cricchiola. I just happened to run into him in public and got a picture with him. He's the sweetest dude. He's as advertised in terms of how much he loves the Lions. Always wearing Lions stuff. Like, it wasn't even game day. It was a Saturday I ran into him. He's still in his overalls, still with the Lions stuff on, and a great guy. And I believe that being part of why we won against the Seahawks, why we broke the curse. My personal my headcanon, I believe meeting Mr. Crackman led to the Lions beating the Seahawks. So that's my segue into this. So going into this game, I thought that the absence of Pete Carroll, the oldest head coach in the NFL last season, I thought his absence from the matchup would make a difference. I thought that the reason the Lions just haven't been able to beat them in like 10 plus years or like their past 6 matchups, whatever the record was, we've never beaten the Seahawks in a very long time. I thought Pete Carroll being gone would fix some of that. It fixed some of that, the winning part, but the game had a very similar flavor to a lot of the other matchups that we've had against the Seahawks, and specifically against the Geno Smith Seahawks, because it was another high-scoring, high-flying, rock'em sock'em battle in Ford Field. That was a lot of fun to watch, but I was biting my fingernails by the end of that game, man. It got tight. I was getting nervous. Flags were flying, which is never good in a Lions game because they rarely go to you, even though I believe it was kind of 50-50 as to the help it gave each team. So for this will be the only mention of the officiating, but I think it was bad enough on both sides to where it was okay as an end result. It was somewhat even. We got screwed on some. We got some ticky-tack PIs. They got an offensive pass interference late in the game. Maybe that had more weight to it than others. They were cost maybe a touchdown or two from PI, from a missed PI call, even though they've gotten touchdowns from the PI. I think it was bad enough to be even on both sides. So I won't focus too much on the officiating, as frustrating as it made the viewing experience. We'll leave it at that. But otherwise in that game, I want to kind of focus on the negative stuff first. For whatever reason, our defense struggles against Geno Smith and the Seahawks. And now they have fantastic receivers, and I think that's something that's going to happen to a lot of teams this season when you have a 1-2-3 punch that's as amazing as the Seahawks have. When it comes to Candyman, DK Metcalf, when it comes to Old Man Lockett, and when it comes to fresh Ohio State face Jackson Smith and Jigba, that's a really good receiving core. All right, that's a very good receiving core. But what I want to give higher props to, kind of negative for the Lions, but I want to be positive for the Seahawks a little bit. Kenneth Walker is awesome. I can't help it. Kenneth Walker is so dope, dude. The flip that he had over Anzalone, where he literally somersaulted over him, got an extra 4 yards before going down. He is impossible to tackle. The tosses that he gets to the edge with are stunning. He's so hard to tackle, man. K9 is a beast. And it's undeniable when you watch him. When he's healthy, he's awesome, man. We got great running backs too, of course. We'll talk about that in a second. But man, Kenneth Walker and even Zach Charbonnet, that's a good running back room too. The Seattle offense is loaded with talent, at least at the skill positions. But I just want to give props to all of that for the Seahawks. It made for a very interesting game, but it was also part of why the Lions have been struggling against this team in the recent years. But they just got good players. They proved it to me last night where, against a Super Bowl contending Lions team, they were able to hold up and maintain a wonky and cursed matchup. But that curse did not continue as we won the game in amazing fashion. The headline reads, I'm not reading anything, I'm just thinking. The headline of this game is that Jared Goff is perfect. 18 for 18, almost 300 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown where that leaves Amon-Ra St. Brown also perfect from passing, one for one on a touchdown pass to his quarterback. Goff, think about that. Not a single incompletion in a game where the corners of Seattle in Witherspoon and Woolen are some of the best duo in the league, and Jared Goff doesn't throw a single incompletion? That's spectacular. That's amazing. I couldn't believe it, and I was so scared when Joe Buck, who was on the call, along with Troy Aikman on ESPN, he kept mentioning Goff was 11 for 11. Goff was 12 for 12. I'm like, shut up, don't say that. Stop that. He mentioned that Goff has, wanted to focus on being clean and taking care of the football. Stop saying that. You're going to freak us out. You're going to curse us, Joe Buck. But that didn't end up being the case. Goff remained perfect. The offense was, even though at times it struggled, was very productive, especially on the ground, where we got, I talked about Charbonnet and Walker as a very, very good running back duo, but Montgomery and Gibbs are some of the best, if not the best, running back duo in the league. And that created a very tough conversation that I am so happy to have. Let me know what you guys think, either on social media or otherwise. Who is better between Montgomery and Gibbs? I've seen the question go around throughout the game on Twitter, and it had me scratching my chin. Because at the time when I read it, it was Montgomery that had a lot of the carries at the time, or at least a lot of the recent carries. And he's bulldozing, and he's catching passes, and he's shoulder slamming people to the ground, just deleting their balance as they plop to the ground. And runs it for like another 30 yards. But then you see Gibbs, like a bat out of hell, out of the middle. You see him with his speed. Able to run between the tackles as well. But who's better? Montgomery, all around, great talent. But Gibbs' high points, his ceiling, his catastrophic potential offensively, makes it a tough conversation. So let me know what you guys think. I'll declare... I think Montgomery gets a very slight edge as to an overall running back, where bulky, shifty enough, hard to tackle, can catch the ball, doesn't do it often, but can catch the ball. Kind of having a bigger size allows him to be better in pass protection. So even though the passing game obviously goes towards Gibbs, I dig Montgomery and being able to get the tough yards compared to the home run opportunities that Gibbs gives you. But before you guys get mad at me, think about that kind of question. We have running backs that are so good that it's not a question of who's better because the other guy stinks. It's a question of who's better because they're so good you can't tell. Oh man, I'm so happy I get to ask that. Oh, that's just such a good conversation. If I had a show 4 hours, 5 days a week, that would fill up my airwaves so much. Is that one you could just talk about constantly, man? Gibbs or Montgomery? Thunder or lightning? It's exactly what you wanted out of that duo. It's the peak of running back by committee. It's the peak. It is the best case scenario, the running back room that we have. And they were on full display. Gibbs with 2 touchdowns. Montgomery had the first one. Lions got up big, especially with Jack Campbell hitting DK Metcalf so hard. Not even hitting the ball, just hitting DK Metcalf so hard as he was being held back, kind of by his jersey, but was being slowed down, held in place. He just knocked the hell out of him and knocked the ball loose, leading to Gibbs' first touchdown, which I thought was just awesome. And, throughout the rest of the game, it was close, and it was getting to a point where I was nervous. Could this be cursed again? Could this go to overtime? Could a penalty by a rookie corner, who is a rookie and has things to correct, but could things like that cost us the game? Even the veteran PI, even the veteran pass interferences and holdings were a little bit weird, but it just smelled rotten at the time. And I stayed up the whole time watching it. But when the Lions got that last touchdown to get into the 40s of points, I started to feel a little bit more comfort because it was a 15-point lead. And it got cut to 13 with a very strange safety where Goff, as tall as he is, just wasn't tall enough to hold the ball past the goal line as he was going down. It was the right call, but when that happened and the Seahawks get the ball back, I was like, oh no. That could be the opportunity for the Seahawks to get into this, because now it goes from a 15-point game where you need a 2-point conversion out of 2 touchdowns to tie it, but now it's like, okay, you can score 2 touchdowns and the extra point would be the game winner, would be the game leading. So that's where I got a little bit nervous, but luckily the Lions were able to do just enough to beat a very hot team, one that has cursed them for years, to get to 3-1 out of the first quarter of the season. It is awesome to see the Lions offense back the way it was. Unfortunately, it comes at the cost of the defense. You know, it was the opposite the first 3 games where you had big defensive performances where the offense was lacking. Now they kind of flipped roles, at least for this game. I'm not as worried about the defense. I mean, some injuries didn't help, going into this game. I don't know if there was many coming out, but I'm not too worried about the defense in regards to this game, only because this is just how it goes against the Seahawks. I'm going to have to see it coming out of the bye week to really get a flavor as to this defense long term. But I'm not worried. I think we got our mojo back, and I think we're going to be fine. Expectations remain the same. Returning to the NFC Championship game, I think that's just a universal opinion. It's not something that's been disproven yet, and it's one that I hold out hope for. So that wraps up our segment talking about the Lions. Oh, and by the way, Kirby Joseph ending it, chef's kiss. Kirby Joseph's a monster. He is it's a trend. It's something you expect where the game ends on a Kirby pick. That is a often occurrence that he is able to do that. And he is I just love Kirby Joseph, dude. He is sweet. And ending the game that way is just awesome. So anyway, now we'll get into the GioMoShow picks. Talking about week 4, I got 11 out of the 16 games correct. It's my best this season. Unfortunately, it came after some of my worst weeks in pick'ems. I've been doing these for, I believe I started last year. So I'm not off to the same hot start that I had last year, but 11 out of 16 games, I believe is admirable. I'm proud of it. I'm happy about it. And we'll kind of go through and give my kind of quick thought processes for why I picked some of them. So, starting off with Thursday Night Football, a snoozer, a field goal fest, a soccer game, basically, with all the kicking going on. I had the feeling, I know the Giants played okay, and I know Dallas got embarrassed by the Ravens, but I just had a feeling I don't think, especially given history between Cowboys and Giants, I wasn't confident enough in the Giants to get the win, so I picked the Cowboys and got that correct. Then we go to the NFC South for the Falcons and the Saints. This one was kind of a coin toss because you had the hot start for the Saints, and then they kind of fell flat in a close loss against Philly in week 3. I had a feeling that, with the Falcons coming off that tight loss against Kansas City, and I'll get to my hatred for Kansas City in a little bit, and it goes beyond Kansas City itself. I'll be sure to mention that. But I had a feeling that the Falcons were due for a good game, and they got enough. With a 26-24 victory, I got that one correct. I simply looked at the Bengals and Panthers as in the headline of Bengals go 0-4. What I do for a lot of these is I think of the headline and I see if it sounds ridiculous. The headline reading Bengals start 0-4. I wasn't feeling that. Not a gut feeling. Andy Dalton revenge game, yeah, but a lot of times where you have a changing quarterback, you get a bit of a bump, but it's not long lasting. I had a feeling the Bengals would at least be able to get one win out of the first 4 games, so I picked the Bengals and got that correct. Bears and Rams was simply picked due to all the Rams injuries. They were able to make it work against the 49ers, but I'm just that's really hard to repeat. Even against the Bears. So I just had a gut feeling that the Bears at home would get it. They did. I got it correct. That's now 4 in a row. Browns and Raiders. I would have picked the Browns if I saw the injuries to Devontae Adams and Max Crosby in time. I did not, so I thought I was screwed. But luckily, the Browns are just that bad that they can't beat the top-heavy Raiders without 2/3 of their top heaviness. Oh no, Josh Jacobs used to be the third. No, it's just 2. Without their top 2 best players. The Browns are hilariously bad. That now brings us to the Chiefs and the Chargers. And when Rashid Rice is gone, what are the Chiefs to do? The poor 4-0 Chiefs. They're so injured. Travis Kelce's not doing good. Isaiah Pacheco's out. Cry me a river. You're 4-0. I'll talk more about the Chiefs and my hatred for them, and I'll give it more of a preview. My hatred of winners. Are you interested now? So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Chiefs are able to beat the Chargers. I just knew that the Chiefs are going to do something crazy. It doesn't matter. It takes all the fun out of it, but you pick the Chiefs. I picked the Chiefs, and I got it right, and I hate it. Bills and Ravens. I picked the Bills in this one. I guess I read too much into the win against Jacksonville because Jacksonville has proven to be awful. But that was not the game I was expecting. I guess it's, the Ravens. The Ravens will just sometimes, we feel like being the best team in the league for a moment. Sometimes they're just like, okay, fine, this time we'll do what gives us the best chance to win, which is give it to Derrick Henry. Fine, we'll run the ball. They just randomly decide to do that sometimes, and this was a game where they decided to do it. They did it against the Cowboys, which is proof of the concept, I guess, even though the Cowboys are not proven to be a whole lot, but I was not expecting a 35-10 blowout on Sunday Night Football. No, that wasn't Sunday night, but either way, Ravens, I did not expect that, so I got that one wrong. That'd be my first wrong game of the week. It would be followed by two more wrong games, Broncos and Jets. I thought the Broncos suck, but it turns out the Jets suck even worse. 10-9 is a final score. Ugh. Lame. Then we get to Eagles and Bucks. I got this one wrong as well because I thought Philly was even though they didn't have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, you still have one of the best running backs in the league, at least the best available running back in the league, in Saquon Barkley, which is, I guess, close to Derrick Henry. But either way, that wasn't the point of the statement. But no, they just kind of didn't feel like giving him the ball all that much, which is the Eagles are like another team where it's you can be the best team in the league if you feel like it, but a lot of games they just don't feel like it. For some reason, they just won't give the ball to their best player when their other two really good players are down. I don't get it. Darius Slay wouldn't fit the Lions nowadays, from what I'm hearing of what he did on Twitter after the game, where he's look at my resume that doesn't help me in this matchup now, but look what I used to do, even though I got torched. That's I've heard other podcasts refer to it as a loser mentality, and I agree. But yeah, I got that one wrong. I guess the Bucs are just really good against the Eagles. Commanders against the Cardinals. I am starting to believe in the Commanders, at least enough to beat the Cardinals. Especially that was at Arizona. But either way, I had a good feeling about the Commanders. They got good vibes going. And I feel like they would be able to do it against the Cardinals. If any team, I feel like they could do it against the Cardinals. So I believed so and was correct. Washington over Arizona. Then we get into Patriots and 49ers. I don't care about the 49ers injuries in this matchup. You cannot lose to the Patriots. And they didn't. I got that one right. So then that moves us to Tennessee and Miami as part of the Monday night doubleheader, which is kind of a lame thing to do, but at least it didn't interrupt the Lions game. But I picked Miami in this one, forgetting how bad the quarterback situation is over there. But I guess I didn't forget it, but I guess I undervalued the impact of that. But I was looking at that game and I was like, Will Levis is going to lose it for them somehow. But what I didn't predict is that Will Levis will not be the one to finish the game. And I believe who's the backup? Mason Rudolph? I forget. Whoever their backup quarterback was ended up doing just enough to beat a very now I could see very in trouble Miami team. So I got that one wrong. I thought Miami was going to be able to do it off a Will Levis pick six classic, but that wasn't the case. And of course I picked Detroit. You guys know me. I'm riding with the Lions. And it wasn't even like these first 4 weeks, like none of the picks that I had for the Lions were like egregious homer fanboy. Like genuinely, like you can make a case for him to go 4-0. You know, part in the Bucks game, but it's like, you know, I'm not crazy to pick the Lions in a lot of these games, so I picked them in a genuine thought process through the game, as in depth or brief as I choose. But I just genuinely thought the Lions were going to win this one, and if they didn't, I was going to be mad either way. So, wouldn't make the results of the game didn't change the results of my pick would not change my feelings on the game. So I just picked the Lions to win that one. So stay tuned on social media where I release my Week 5 picks, as it would just be too early for me to do them now. But come Thursday, I'll at least have my Thursday pick, and then Saturday you can expect my rest of Sunday and Monday picks. And then we'll come back here on the GioMo Show and discuss them just like we did here for a quick blitz through the NFL. This next coming week only has 14 games in it, so will I reach 11 again, or will the percentage kind of stay the same where, you know, we keep the percentage but only relative to the total? We'll see next week on the GioMo Show. But I want to wrap up these last few minutes with what I teased with, which is my hatred for winners. Now, what does that mean? Giovanni, that sounds crazy. Why would you hate winners? I hate winners like the Patriots that I grew up with, as well as the Chiefs now. I could go a long time on this, but we only have a few minutes left here on the GioMo Show, so I'll make it quick. If you go back to my thoughts on the Chiefs and Chargers game, I was disgusted because I just knew, regardless of any game analysis, regardless of any consequences, regardless of anything that would affect any other team, the Chiefs were still going to win. And you know what? That's boring. That takes all the fun out of sports to immediately know the winner. That completely sucks. Well, what sucks even more is that you don't know how or why. You just know they're going to win because they just magically do it. Injuries to a star running back and a star wide receiver and the underperformance of their legendary tight end, that would make any other team lose at least 1 or 2 games. That would affect a team in a way that is realistic. When you lose good players, you should play worse. That's life. But it's not life for teams that win at the rate of the Chiefs and the Patriots before. It doesn't matter. And it takes all the fun out of it because they're playing by different rules. You know, superstitiously, not literally, sometimes literally, but superstitiously, they're playing by different rules. And it's not fair as a viewing experience. It takes the fun out of viewing the game. Because you're not watching to see, can the Chargers, under Jim Harbaugh, make it work despite their injuries? You have this key and this key. How will they match up with this and that? You throw all that out of the window. You look at the Chiefs, you say they win. It doesn't matter. And it's no fun. It's completely no fun. They're the no fun zone. They're the no fun team. Especially when they do stuff like last year. That team stunk. That team was awful compared, at least on offense, to the Chiefs of the past. But they have their Western Michigan wide receiver Sky Moore. Oh, he ends up being good enough. He scores a touchdown in the Super Bowl. You have your 5th round running back magically turn into one of the best backs in the league because, of course, that's just what you needed, is now a viable run game. And even when you put the backup to that guy in, he still does well. It doesn't make any sense. And it's not fun. It's not fun. That's why I hate winners. Ugh. Cry me a river, 4-0 Chiefs. You're not playing as well and you got injuries. Shut up. So that will wrap up on a very positive note of the GioMo Show here. My return to the studio. I love this place here. The equipment, it's nice. The people are nice. This is where it all started. And I'm just so happy to finally be back here. I don't know exactly when I'll be back or how I'll be back, but I'll be back in some capacity. We'll figure out a way to keep the show going at whatever frequency, whether I kind of do it in short spurts via social media or I do the long-form radio shows like this. We will figure out a way to keep the Joe Mo Show going. It's not goodbye. I'm not done with it. We are just figuring it out in a new life, in a new world. So, this has been the Joe Mo Show. My name is Giovanni Mosheri. This has been your home for Oakland sports and beyond. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Search the GioMo Show on YouTube and social media. Follow, like, subscribe, all the good stuff here. Support your college radio station. Support college radio. And go Golden Grizzlies. Go Lions. And we'll see you next week.